GM, everybody. Welcome back to another community stream with myself, Billy, your favorite DevRel, and Will, our lead engineer. What's up, Will? How you doing?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm tired, but I'm good. It has
It's
been
too
a
early to get
grind.
tired. We don't have time
Yeah,
for that this week.
yeah. I woke up really, really early, and I was like, man, and I only had like one cup of coffee. So I'm like, all right. I'm like half yawning, half awake, but I'm like, I can't go back to sleep. So what a better time to grind. I'm like an AI guy.
Right?
But yes, today's theme is pre-staking and like what it brings for you, what it is, what's the benefit, what's in it for you, basically, on like what pre-staking is. And I don't know if you've been living under a rock or if you haven't been following Katana notifications, but the cat token goes live March 18th. That's the official date on there. So for those that have been asking when TGE, when is the cat transferable, March 18th is the big day. So pre-staking, we'll let's like what's a brief overview of that, Will, of like what pre-staking is on like for the user's interface, and we'll show it in just a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. Pre-staking is a way. So, like the thing about pre-staking is it's a way for you to get started with your staking before TGE, um, because staking your cat on Katana allows you to vote on where the incentives go, and that's how you keep you get the flywheel moving, and it's how you tap into the deep resources that make Katana. And so pre-staking is your opportunity to say, yeah, I want in on that, and by doing so ahead of time, you're actually getting a couple of some really really good boosts for jumping in early. Show up early, you get a preferential place in line.
For those that don't understand how the cat tokenomics kind of work, or like how the way the cat system works, there's going to be three tokens in total. There's going to be the cat token, which is the base token that if you've been doing the campaigns for the incentives, that's what you've been receiving. Like if you're popping into the urine vaults, morpho vaults, applying liquidity on the dexes, you're getting a cat token on there. If you are staking it, that'll be voting cat, vCAT, where you can then vote for those emissions. So the cat itself cannot decide on that type of emission voting. You have to stake it to either vCAT or a vCAT. So vCAT is kind of the manual voting where you can basically choose where the emissions are going to go. Currently, right now, it's going to be limited to liquidity pools, but ultimately down the roadmap, it's going to be chain wide. So basically a chain wide type of V33 interface. And then AVCAT is a relaying system that will run a strategy and then also auto compound those rewards for you. So if you're more of a manual person, or if you are in a specific liquidity pool that you would want to, incentivize, then you can, devote that manually. If you want to get the best yield up without really having to think it through and have a strategy ran in hence, you can then use AVCAT as well on there. So just kind of explains what you want to do with the cat. So the cat itself just stands alone. And then if you want to be part of that ecosystem and help decide like where Katana puts those emissions, you're going to want to go into vCAT or AVCAT ultimately on there.
For me, it's
So
AVCAT all the way. I don't want to have to make any more decisions in my life.
definitely, yeah. It's I always compare it with like vCAT with like if I'm actually adapt on there, and that's one of the things before we get into pre-staking of like what is kind of the purpose of Katana, like what sets Katana apart. Being a major DeFi guy and understanding how with DeFi projects, one of the biggest moats is obviously getting those first few deposits and then keeping those people incentivized indefinitely. So historically, you rent this liquidity, you have these incentives, you're forced to buy a token, or I'm sorry, not buy a token, create a token to create these incentives for people to deposit, and then ultimately you buy yourself as a DApp, the incentives end and then the people leave and the liquidity leaves, and it's very difficult to get them back and whatnot. With Katana, that we've seen that issue happen over again with that same playbook. So it's like, well, what happens if the incentives never go away? You can keep voting on your DApp to receive those emissions, and then eventually, if the rate is good, people don't have a reason to leave. So it's one of those flywheel scenarios that like we're seeing this play out in real time. And today, basically March 18th is the first step towards that. And then with pre-staking, you get to be a part of that with a bonus on there. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen on there to kind of explain what is a vCAT, AVCAT, And for those that haven't been using or following the Katana app, you're going to want to go to katana.network, and here will be app.katana.network. I think I have a banner here on there. So yeah, go ahead and join in. And I see the comment legend. I'll come back to your comment a little bit later after, as I cover pre-staking. But right here on the main Katana app, just to do an overview, you will see basically your wallet, whatever it's earning. This is my DeFi demo wallet. If you've been following along with the DeFi series, I've kind of been taking you through like how DeFi works, DEXs, borrow lendings, yield tokenization, and pretty soon taking you through perps as well to get a full feeling of like what a DeFi suite would look like. And so I've been earning my cat. I've been earning my cat this way, so I can see that my money is here working. I can claim, and then I can check my portfolio to see where my positions are. If you've been following along, I have like a borrow position on Morpho, so that is still going along, and I'm still earning negative yield on that, which is great. And then earn page is the place where you can look to see different opportunities on here. So if you have stables that you want to do, or some extra ETH or wrapped ETH that you want to start earning yield on, definitely check this out as well. And then just to skip ahead, we have the quests. If you've been following along with the community, there are quests for you to do to earn some points. You can do weekly rewards here as well and start earning your badges. Keep an eye out for upcoming quests as TGE comes. You're going to see a lot more stuff happening down the pipeline. And then coming down to the stake page, you're going to see it. And you've been probably seeing that green banner on every page. That's taking you straight to the pre-staking page. And so with pre-staking, with that cat that I've earned over time, providing liquidity throughout the very beginning, you can now choose to pre-stake that. You're pre-committing before TGE that you want to stake it into what we're going to call a vKAT, right? I'm sorry, a vKAT on here. So what do you get for doing that, right? Like what is the purpose? You get 3 times the voting power that you would on any other normal epoch, and then you get 3 times the reward weight for 60 days on there. So this is limited only to the first 350 million cat that are committed. Once that threshold is hit, you basically can't participate anymore. Or if TGE hits first, then you can't participate anymore. Let's say you are farming it, or you just don't have access to your ledger or whatever or whatnot, and you can't stake it on it right before TGE. You still have an opportunity to then do it within the first 72 hours of TGE, but you don't get all the bonuses. So really quick, if you pre-stake today, tomorrow, just before TGE's date, you get all these bonuses. So again, 3 times voting power, 3 times reward weight, and then a definitive 35% yield floor. What does that mean exactly on there? I'm going to put over this calculator right here that was made by our engineering team on here, so you can kind of look ahead. If I had 10,000 cat and I wanted to deposit that on 60 days without my pre-stake boost on a base, different scenario systems, I would get about 1,500 cat, right? If I put in the pre-stake boost, I would guarantee. Oh, there's a ching song. I didn't even know that happened. You get a guaranteed 35% right here. So if at any time you didn't make that 35%, the company will make sure that you get that 35% minimum on there. So that's kind of like a bonus on there, like a guarantee on this. Like it's kind of a no-brainer for that one to like, hey, if I'm going to do it anyway, I might as well do it now. So then I get a guaranteed bonus on there. It could be more. You never know, depending on the trading volumes, depending on like how much goes back and forth. You just never know what it could be. But with doing this right before TGE, you're basically getting a guarantee. It's like, hey, worst case scenario, I'm going to walk away with this after 60 days, assuming I still meet the requirements on there. But you can definitely check around like with the staking calculator, 90 days, do whatever you look to see like what makes sense for you, obviously, and you can look at all the different scenarios, vote power. Again, this is basically estimating trading fees and vote incentives on there based on like just scenarios. As the token goes live, we'll update that for more real-time stuff. So again, that's that 35% year float. It basically happens for you automatically. Once you pre-commit, you'd have to do the action of pre-committing. It will happen for you automatically. Once you set it, you can basically leave it alone, and then it's ready to go. And then now for both, if you don't want to pre-stake or you just could not pre-stake ahead of time, you can ultimately do it within the first 3 days of TGE, or 72 hours to be exact. you also get founding staker status on there. And then you basically get extra bonuses. Ultimately, you earn from the early exits on the epochs on there, and then you get the normal staking yield as normal. So you can see that doing the pre-TGE is a much better incentivized version of it if you're already going to do it anyway on there. I don't know if you have anything else to add on there, Will, just in case.
Yeah, I think the key thing to add on to here is just it's post token launch is always a period of volatility, and so these are just some incentives to try and stabilize that volatility. And you've got the calculator, so you can run your own math there and put in your own numbers to see what it's going to look like according to your best guess, and then just see if this makes sense for you to help ride through the volatile period.
Sorry, I was on mute. Yes, excellent. Yeah. If you want to stay updated with all information, definitely click on the subscribe on here. You can get notification about the TGE, any update changes. It's pretty much up to the minute. Anytime there's an announcement, I know like life gets busy and everybody has multiple things. Maybe your AI agent is not subscribed, so make sure to manually subscribe to it so you can get updates on there as well. So I'm going to show a quick example of how to do it. It's pretty straightforward, pretty simple. Again, I've been farming my cat on that DeFi position on here. So I'm going to go ahead and pop in, I'm going to say I want to stake my full 750 cat right here. Notice I also have this to claim as well, but right now I'm just going to do my whole cat here. Let's just do a nice even 750. And then basically letting people know, hey, I'm going to approve my cat during TGE event. If my balance goes lower, I will lose my stake. So one caveat on here is like, if I commit 750 cat, it could be any number that I want, but if my balance goes lower than what I staked, then I don't get these incentives on here. So if I put in 750 and then somehow I sell 50 cat tokens and then my balance is 700, I no longer am eligible for these pre bonuses on here. I'm just going back to a normal stake on here. So what you commit, you basically, if you want that bonus, you want to make sure that you commit that for the full 60 days. Just don't touch it, and then you'll be in good shape on here. So basically that's what partial fills means. I can't stake more than what I have. And then when I do stake, I want to make sure that I keep that balance across the 60 days to earn all those rewards. So I'm going to go ahead and commit to that pre-stake. And I'm going to go ahead and sign it off. Yes, I just haven't used it on this wallet, so that's why I got that message from Rabbi. And ta-da! I've done it. It's pretty straightforward on there. And I'm done. And if you notice on the very, very bottom, I have this committed on here. If I decide to change my mind before TGE, I can always cancel this at any time. So if you decide, you know what, I've done the numbers, I've done the calculation, it just does not make sense for me, I don't want to do it, you can easily just cancel that and it will basically reverse what you have. And then on TGE day, you will just have your straight cat on here. If I started claiming, I want to claim, another one, let me go ahead and claim this. And I just want to say, hey, this is an interesting scenario that people have been making some mistakes on. Is I will claim my cat and my balance will update. So I'm going to just refresh the page, make sure I have the full cat, and let me go max cat. So let's say I don't want to do that. I just want to add 200 cat on here to my balance on here. And then I'm going to go ahead and basically say, I understand. And I'm going to pre-stake my 200 cat. And I'm going to go ahead and say, okay. And I'm done. What happens with this is it wiped out my original 700 cat commitment and did the 200. So you have to be very wary of like what actually happens here. So every time I do a pre-commit, I want to make sure I commit the whole thing. So one, it could be the full commit of the cat, because the cat token never left my wallet. I still have a full balance here. That's why I wanted to kind of show that whatever I pre-commit, if I do another commit, it will wipe out that previous commitment and replace it with the newest one. So if I wanted to do the full 900, then I can do that. I'm going to go ahead and understand and then stake that pre-cat this way.
Yeah, so I think that's the confusing part about this is this is not an additive process. There's only one pre-commit transaction there, and so the value that you pre-commit to is what's there. It's not, if I do 100 and do 100 later, it's not 200. It's just one confirmation here of this is how much I want to pre-commit or pre-stake. And if you do this multiple times, whatever your last pre-staking commitment was is the one that we run with.
Absolutely. So a few questions that I've gotten on the Discord here and there is, can I do this with vCAT? Or I think that's the only thing that's been distributed. And no, this is for cat only. So to kind of come back into that, you get cat and vCAT different ways. Cat, you've basically got, if you provided liquidity, if you got through crates, and you won some cat, those are all coming in form of vCAT. I'm sorry, not cat. If you provided liquidity in any of the campaigns on here, that will come in native cat. For crates, there was a bonus. I think it was a total of 67 million cat was giving as a bonus. So for those that participated in the crates, aside from your initial liquidity, if you participated, you got a share of the 67 million vCAT. So that bonus was giving in vCAT. So that is not eligible for a pre-stake on there. That it comes in the form of vCAT as well on there. So those are not eligible for the pre-stake. Those are actually already staked on there. So the vCAT, you don't really have to do anything TGE, but if you do want the incentives, you can vote. And so that is something that you have to make sure to do. If you don't vote, there are no rewards on there. So on the actual staking page, once TGE goes live, you'll be able to then decide, if you want to stake your cat to cat or AV-cat, you can. And then also you'll be able to vote on the epoch on there. And each epoch is about 2 weeks. So you have a few days to vote. You don't have to rush and do this day one. And then you are able to then, just choose where you want the emissions to go with your vCAT on there. If you have the vCAT, again, you don't have to decide on that. It's already run on a strategy that auto compounds for you every epoch on there. I think that's pretty straightforward on there for what the pre-staking is. I think. I don't know if you have
I
anything to
think
add on that.
I'll add one thing to that. So with the you already said it. I just want to say it a different way to make sure it's really clear. If you have a vCAT, that's auto voting, so you don't have to do anything. If you have vCAT, you do have to vote manually in order to receive the rewards.